Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another edition of the Monie Podcast. I am your girl, Monie, and today's conversation is one that every single person will need at some point in life because grief is something we all experience. Yet, so many of us suffer through it silently. Society often tells us to be strong, to move on, to get over it. But grief doesn't work like that. It's messy, it's unpredictable, it changes us. Today, I'm joined by the founder of Normalizing Grieve, a platform dedicated to creating safe spaces for people navigating loss, healing, and mental wellness. She has experienced profound personal loss and has transformed her pain into purpose by helping others feel seen through their own grief journeys. Today, we're talking about loss, healing, mental health, faith, and how we can normalize grief conversations. Please help me welcome to the Monie Podcast, Erica Elita. Hi, Erica.
Hi, Monie. It is nice to see you again.
Yes, it's been a minute. We connected, I'd like to say a little bit before COVID, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you and just to share your story and hear a little bit more of what's been going on, what's new, and all that good stuff. So I want to get into your story. I want my listeners, my viewers to know who you are and what you do. Tell us about who Erica is outside of your work.
Outside of my work, who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am a connector.
Mm-hmm.
I am a people person, I would say. That's something I discovered in my journey since I've moved to Toronto.
Yes.
I am a creator.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads me to doing many things in many spaces. One of the things I do is community building workshops. That's my job. That's my employment. But then I have many other passion projects and side businesses. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so that's something that I do often.
Yes.
One of the things that has really centered my life recently, aside from the community work that I do, partnerships, development, and so forth, which is really important, building community programs, and connecting people, as I said. That's one of the things I'm very passionate about. However, one of the biggest projects has been the Normalizing Grieve. That has come about through the Compassionate Friends, called TCF. Mm-hmm. So that's an international charity. And I've been hosting a monthly support group for the last 3 years. Now, just a small correction. At the beginning, you said the founder of Normalizing. Mm-hmm. I'm the co-founder.
Co-founder, okay.
Yes, so I'm a co-founder.
Nice.
My partner's name is Melanie. She's another mom introduced through a friend that had also experienced loss.
Okay.
So together, we started facilitating the monthly parent support group. Mm-hmm. And through that, we saw the other disconnects. And that's what led to the development of us founding Normalizing Grieve.
Very nice. Love that. Came together and produced something that's helpful for people going through it right now. Tell me a little bit about what was life like growing up for you.
What was life like growing up? So I'm from Montreal.
All right.
I was born and raised in Montreal. And interestingly enough, I've been speaking a lot recently about growing up in Montreal. Here in Toronto, there's a huge Montreal transplant community. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my friends here are actually from Montreal. Many of them, me not even knowing them in Montreal, meeting them here.
Okay.
So one of the great things about growing up there is Montreal's a wonderful, small, big town. Very cosmopolitan, but geographically very small.
Yes.
So you can get around, you can get from end to end on your own. And it was very multicultural. So I had the blessing of growing up with all kinds of different people, Italians and Greeks and Caribbeans and from all the islands. Indians. We grew up all together, and that led to a very rich food dynamic, music dynamic, and then going to an international school like Concordia, again, meeting more people from more places. So that was one of the really beautiful things about growing up there, having so many friends from different places, experiencing so much different food, Montreal is very much a party town, so being able to go out, party young. But I was also a very young mother. So I had my daughter when I was 16, my first child when I was 16. But again, very blessed, had the support of my mother. So I was able to go to college right away. She was born in June. I started school in September. I started college at 16, or what we call in Quebec, CEGEP. And I was able to still have a very rich and happy youth, I would say. And I think that's rare. Do not recommend to anybody to have a child that young, but I know that I was very blessed in how things turned out and what I was able to still do and experience. So I would definitely say that childhood was wonderful because of where I grew up. My mother's one of 11 children.
Oh, wow.
And so where we lived, Ville LaSalle, I had an aunt on almost, every block. And so I grew up with my cousins. Again, I have a lot of first cousins.
Yeah.
And so that dynamic and having a good friend group, that's another thing I've been very blessed with throughout my life, is a fantastic friend group.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about my growing up.
And that's rare, that the friend group that you touched on that piece, because as you grow older, sometimes those friendships fade. You don't really keep the connection and everything like that.
Remind me,
good.
As I'm telling you my story, I have a story, a little miracle story, one of the many that have happened since, about that friend group from Montreal coming to visit me. So I'll tell you that.
Definitely want to hear that. Okay, so you said Montreal, so that means you can speak a little French, something?
Yeah. Yes, I can speak a bit of French, and that was one of the blessings of moving here to Toronto.
Yeah.
Being bilingual is something that's highly prized here. And the experience of growing up in Montreal and learning and knowing French is very different. So when you're not an actual francophone there, it's not valued equally. Whereas I came here and it was like, oh, you speak French?
Yes.
And what was awesome is many of my interviews, the person interviewing me knew less French than I did. So it was very easy to, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you're hired.
You're hired, exactly. So that's been a blessing and a benefit being here.
Oh, nice. I have always wanted to learn French. I don't know, no French. I think it's good to have that second language, just something else.
Absolutely.
Besides English. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about your story in terms of your loss story. I know your work around grief, it's deeply personal, you've experienced profound loss yourself, including the loss of your son. If you feel comfortable sharing, can you tell us about him and what that journey has looked like for you?
Okay, so the journey to get here, it's interesting that your color is purple, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of the pictures of me and my son. The last photo shoot I did with him the month before he passed, he was wearing like a great purple this microphone.
Yes.
So I actually almost wore purple too, so it would have been a lot. But the beginning. So I lost my son Kai in May of 2021. This was still during COVID. We were going in and out. 2020 would have been the deepest time of it, but we were still in COVID in 2021. And it was May 23rd, a Sunday, and I had gone for a drive, and I got home. No, I was on my way home and the phone rang, and my younger son said to me, somebody had come to the door. And then my phone rang again, and it was a police officer, and he said, are you close to home? And I said, I'm about 10 minutes away. And to be honest, when he called, my first thought was, oh, this kid's probably driving without papers.
Yeah.
Like he's somewhere, he's got pulled over, he's, somewhere without papers. And so I get home, I pull up in front and the police car is there, and the gentleman gets out and he has on a mask because at that time everybody's wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at me and he says 10 words and he said, Kai was found deceased in a Toronto Airbnb. And I remember that I heard a woman in the street and she started to scream. And it's only later that I realized that woman was me.
Oh my God.
And I kept saying, no, that's not right. You've made a mistake. And I kept saying it over and over again, and it escalated until I was screaming. They called an ambulance because I was hysterical. Not that I remember it like that, but I was. And I remember them offering to take me to the hospital. And I had worked in the hospital in Montreal for a decade. So I knew some of the procedures. And because it was COVID time, I knew that if I went into the hospital, no one was going to be able to reach me. So if I went in there, I'd be on my own. Yeah. And even more importantly, my then 11-year-old son would be on his own. So I went inside, I went home, and that's just the part of when I found out that he was gone. Mm-hmm. And then begins the surreal part of waiting. So I didn't see my son again until the funeral home 10 days later. Okay. So because of COVID, again, you can't go to the morgue, you can't see. Yes. And after a while, there's a break from reality, mm-hmm. which is needed in order to survive. And at one point, I remember thinking, well, they probably got it wrong, mm-hmm. and he's somewhere, and any minute now, this little fool's going to call me up and go, Mom, did you hear he was dead? They'd be like, come home, like, really. And because there was this space, I started to really question it, and waiting to go to the funeral home and see him. And I remember how that built up. And to reverse a bit, in that time, my son's friends, and they're still very much in my life, they rallied around me. I was never alone. I had a group of 4 women, my friends, that I called my compass, because one of them was with me at all times. And when I speak of having a phenomenal friend circle, this is what I mean. One of the interesting things about death that I'm sure most people have experienced is that after someone passes, you see the strangest things in people, the oddest behavior. Mm-hmm. Death and marriages seem to do that to people for some reason. And so many of the people I thought would be there for me were not there. The core people that obviously would have been there were not. Yeah. But thankfully, because of the community and the relationships and the support that I have built since I've moved to Toronto, the support was overwhelming. Yes. I experienced real tangible help and love and prayers and assistance and care from strangers on the internet. Mm-hmm. That felt touched. There were people who wrote me to tell me of dreams where my son had come to them and shared that with me. So the support was amazing. Mm-hmm. And in every telling of this story, I do tell it different. Mm-hmm. And how I'm speaking about it now will not be how I speak about it tomorrow. Yeah. The things I remember now are not the things I'll remember the next day. But so burying your child is one of the most unnatural things that you can do. And in the English language, there is no word for it. So you have orphans, you have widows, you have widowers, but you don't have a word for somebody who's lost their child because it's not supposed to be. Yeah. And there is a word that people in the community do use, and it's called viloma. And that's a Sanskrit word meaning out of natural order. And so after this loss, one of the things it makes it sound so trivial, this loss. One of the things I realized was how ignorant people were to grief. And this is where normalizing grief came in. our society is grief illiterate.
Yes.
And they are grief averse. The thing is everyone experiences grief. Grief is not just about death. Grief is the loss of something. It's the loss, it's moving, it's marriage, it's children, it's not having children, it's the job you wanted. There's so many relationships, people who are still alive.
Yes.
We grieve so many things, even versions of ourselves. And also, too, the other thing I really noticed was in the Caribbean culture, in our culture, how grief was dealt with or not dealt with. And the things that people would say to make themselves feel comfortable while making you feel very uncomfortable. And I realized a lot of people wanted to support, but they didn't know how. They didn't know what to say. And so they would say things they would think were comforting, like, oh, he's in a better place now. Well, you don't get to tell a freshly grieving or a mother who's been grieving for 20 years her child's in a better place. So I realized that people did want to help, and there was a lot of education that was needed for that. So that's how Normalizing Grief began.
Wow. It's just interesting how you touched on it happened around COVID, because around that time, a lot of families experience loss, grief, due to COVID primarily. COVID just entered the homes and lives of people and just ended a lot of, lives, unfortunately. And it was the hardest time to be experiencing grief, because you didn't get to really mourn how you normally would someone, especially how you touched on you were in the hospital and you knew it would be hard for people to reach you and family to be around you. It was a very, very, very hard time for people to experience loss. And COVID kind of made us look at death differently. During that time, I lost basically a childhood friend to COVID. And the way how he passed is like his family found him. He was not answering his phone, not answering his text message, and they went to find him and he was deceased on his couch, and it's just because COVID kind of separated and isolated us, it made it so hard for us to really be there for each other. So I felt your story when you were sharing it, and I just could picture how you went through hearing the news and then going to the hospital and having your friends around you, and it was a lot. I can just imagine it was a lot. But would you say that the grief, it caught you off guard, basically? It just came at you and you were just like, I'm not expecting this? Because a lot of people, it's not like grief happens every day, but your grief definitely.
Well, unexpected loss is very different than anticipatory loss. So my son died very suddenly. Whereas my partner, Melanie, her son had cancer for 20 years. So he was diagnosed at 3 and he passed at 23 after a 20-year battle with cancer, 8 cancers overall. And Troy died at the age of 23. So her grief, and the interesting thing is when we talk to each other, we can't imagine the other's position.
That's true.
I can't imagine doing what she did, and she can't imagine doing what I did.
That's true.
So although there's different types of grief, one, it's how it affects the individual and how you process it and the support that you get. So unexpected, that's an interesting question, because his death was unexpected. So the grief that came with it wasn't. All of the I can't even say phases, because that's the other thing. Grief is not linear. There are no 7 stages of grief. That's not a real thing. If you ask me if it's worse now, a lot of people don't understand that in many ways it's worse now than it was then. A lot of people think it's something you get over, which you don't. So was it unexpected? What was unexpected was the behavior of others. What was unexpected was people's expectations of me. But because I'm very vocal and I do have a large platform, I was able to inform others. And I speak of my son every day. I talk about him. If it makes people uncomfortable, that is of no consequence to me. But other people don't have that reality. And one of the things I found out when we started to facilitate the parental grief group is a lot of people have less support than you would even imagine. People say things like, well, at least you have other children.
Oh, wow.
There are people who have never gone back to work. And it's been 13 years, 20 years. So one of the fantastic things is that I have an amazing support circle. And because of my voice, I'm able to amplify the message and help people understand how to better support people who are grieving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people just never really, push past that chapter. It's something that they carry on into the next. And I have a lot of friends and individuals who are going through grief right now. That's why I felt this episode was so fitting to have you talk about it, because although they've gone through grief, they're not at a stage where you would say normal, as they come back, because it's a loss to them. And you can't really tell somebody to, all right, they're gone now. Come, get back. You got to start going back to work. You got to get back out there. I feel you have to let that individual process and go through it at their own pace. Is that something you would agree? You can't really rush someone and be like, come. You can't life.
You can't rush someone, and everyone processes it differently. And by needing to suppress it, there is no processing. As I said, the first year, it was just shock.
Yeah.
So the first year is shocking, and I've spoken to other mothers, other parents who've lost their kids, and many people agree with this, is that the first year you're just shocked. Everything is a first.
Yeah.
So it's the first birthday without them, the first Christmas, the first everything without them. And then the second year, for myself, I can say, it was so deep. The despair and the sadness was so deep, because now you start to thaw out. You're not as numb, and you really get it. They're not here.
Yeah.
And now your memories that are coming up in your phone are of the last year without them. This is the second birthday. This is the second Christmas. And it feels even more real. This is going to be year 5 next month, makes 5 years. And I was speaking to another mother, and she was saying that we agree, it's just weird. It's just such a strange space where they seem so far, but it is so close, and other people seem to have moved on and forgotten. And It's like yesterday for you. So every year is different, and it's different for everyone.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect answer for that. Would you say that was the hardest season, or what did your hardest season look like for you as you try to navigate and get through your loss?
The hardest season? Initially, it was tethering myself to the world. So my son passed in 2021. My younger son's father passed in 2019.
Yeah.
So 2019, he passed. Then 2020, COVID came. Everyone had to stay home. That was a different kind of loss and grief. And then just when, we thought things were starting to get back to normal, I lost my son. And so for me, it was that initial part, trying to find the light again, because I knew that there was somebody that was depending on me and needed me. So that was the hardest part, was trying to bring myself back to the world.
Yeah. It's a little bit like going through a mental illness diagnosis. When you're diagnosed with depression and you hide away in isolation, you have to try and get back into the world, get back into that light.
Yeah.
And fight.
Yeah. You have to, there's a point where you actually it is a decision.
Yes.
You have to make a decision to step forward, which leads me to one of my great stories. So how I got my job at the community center. I was at the cemetery after my son passed away, and he died in May. And he died on my favorite weekend in the year, May 24. Like, I love
the weekend. Yeah,
the beginning of summer, the official kickoff, and so it's really changed how I feel
about that now.
About that season. But so, of course, we bury him. We go to the cemetery, and that summer I spent every day at the cemetery, and I was there from morning till night. Sometimes at night, sometimes all times. And so one day, maybe a week or two after he's passed, I'm at the cemetery and I hear my voice of the trees. I hear, Erica, Erica. And I'm like, oh, look, I've gone crazy. So I picked up my phone to call my girlfriend and tell her, you should come get me because it's happened. Like, my mind is snapped. I'm hearing my voice in the wind. It's time. But because I was expecting to go crazy, and I was welcoming it because reality was just too much.
Too much. Yeah.
So I heard my voice, my name in the air, and I was like, oh, I'm nuts. And I look, and there's this woman in a car, and she looks at me, and she goes, what are you doing here? And I said, oh, my son, he's down there.
Yeah.
And long story short, that woman was my boss, my now boss, whose son had also passed away maybe a week after mine. And it just so happened they ended up being buried about 600 steps apart. Oh. And we spent the summer of 2021 just together at the cemetery, just kind of going from grave to grave, looking at the ground, because you're just so shocked. There were times I'd get to the cemetery, and I remember once I drove up and I kind of missed the marker and I didn't see it. And I was like, see, like, look, I told you it was like a stupid dream. Like, there's no grave here. And then I found it and I was so disappointed. But that's the level of disbelief.
That you have.
So we're together all summer. I mean, like 6 o'clock in the morning, we're just at the cemetery, just staring at the ground because we're in disbelief. And then this is from June. So June, July, August, September, and October, she looks at me and she said, Erica, do you need a job? I said, well, yeah, you see that I'm here with you every day. I'm obviously not doing anything else. And, you know, faith is an amazing thing. And when I look back at many times in my life, and especially that time, how I got through had nothing to do with me. When people are like, how do you do it? It had nothing to do with me. That was God that took me through. I was just there. And I got this job. And what was so beautiful about this is that it was in my purpose. It was exactly in my purpose, which is to help people, which is to bring people together, to create programming and events that unify and amplify and educate, and to be able to be creative and start new programming, and to work with my community, which is so close to my heart. And I feel that was like a gift from my son, where he was like, okay, you know what? Look, that woman's not working. She's not doing anything. Like, if I had to send a job to the cemetery for you, and here it is. Okay. And so I feel like, and then it being the job that has most aligned with my heart and really helped me have my purpose. And that's what I needed at a time where everything I knew to be my purpose was lost. That's the gift that, you know,
just anchored you right there. Oh,
so.
That's beautiful. I love that. Love that story. What do you want people to remember most about him?
What do I want people to remember most about him? What a beautiful, intelligent person he was, and a good friend. And because my son passed away at 18 years old, we were doing a lot of fighting, because that's what you do when your son is 18. And he doesn't make any sense, and he does stupid things all the time. So, of course, then you feel bad and you think about, you know, if I knew my son's midlife point was 9 years old, I don't even know if I would have sent him to school. I would have just hung out with him. But because as a parent, you expect your child's longevity and you're looking towards their future, there's things that you are trying to set up for them and lead them towards and encourage them to do that isn't in the short term fun. And one of the things that I learned after my son passed, I was very fortunate. A lot of people, when their loved ones pass, they sometimes learn terrible things about them. When they go through their stuff, or they, get messages from other people, and they learn that they weren't who they thought they were.
Yeah.
And in my instance, for me, that's what happened, is that I learned that my son wasn't who I thought he was. He was a far grander human being than I could have ever imagined. What the stories his friends told me, the human beings that loved him, and people telling me repeatedly, your son taught me about friendship. He taught me what it was to be a friend. Before him, I just hung out with people. Yeah. Now I know what friendship is. That's and amazing. How many people he touched. So I'm actually very honored, and I'm very proud of the young man that he was. And I had no idea
that he was
all of that.
That is very nice. Say his name again for the people that are listening.
Kai. K-A-I. Kai.
Very beautiful. Wow. That is a deep loss. And you shared that story online. I saw photos of the two of you. I remember when I saw you posted that you had lost him. It's like we felt like we lost. I don't have kids of my own, but you kind of felt it. It was just a deep hit. And I remember messaging and just being like, Erica, I'm not sure if it's a real post. I'm not sure what's going on, but so sorry for your loss, because it was just a shock, and I can just imagine other people just reaching out to you and just feeling it as well, as if he were their own.
That was the tremendous thing, is that even before, I've been online for years, and I realized after how much I shared my kids and how many times I did little interviews with
them.
And so people kind of got to know him, and they felt like they knew him. And then even me sharing about him afterwards, because again, a lot of people don't feel like they can talk about their person like that. And that's what, when people say things like, oh, I didn't want to bring him up, I didn't want to remind you. You thought I forgot?
Yeah.
I didn't forget. It's not like you're going to say Kai. I'm like, oh, yeah, he died.
Yeah.
I remember all the time. So saying his name, telling me things about him, acknowledging, sometimes I run into people even now, and they know me from online. They're like, but I just want to say I'm really sorry. And the way that makes me feel, to not ignore my pain, but to acknowledge it. The thing is with grief, and this is the number one thing, grief must be witnessed. Grief must be witnessed. And people, for their own preservation, because of their own discomfort, often want to turn away.
Yeah.
And all that grieving people want, the only way to fix it is to bring the person back. So you can't fix it.
You can't do that. Yeah.
But you can hold space.
Very valid. Very valid. Again, we are speaking to Erica Elita. We are speaking about grief, and hope you guys are enjoying this episode so far. I want to talk about the brand that you've created, Normalizing Grief. Why do you think grief conversations are so uncomfortable for people overall? Because your title, Normalizing Grief, it is something that we need to do. Why do you think it's really so hard for people to
I think it's our society. It's our society. There's a lot of cultures where they cry when you're born and mourn when you and celebrate when you die. It's our culture. We've tried to remove death from us as if it doesn't affect us. So a lot of North Americans die in hospitals. They don't die in their home. People think it's creepy if you die in your home. And there's actually nothing more natural than dying where you lived your whole life. We've made it a medical event as opposed to a natural part of life.
Yes.
It is the one thing we all share. Some of us don't even get to share life. We only share death. So the fact that we've removed ourselves so much from it, it has made it something uncomfortable. So I think that's part of it, and it's people's fear. So we have normalized avoidance. We've normalized just sayings to soothe people and not again, sitting and witnessing grief, not offering real help. One of the things I tell people when they say, how do I help? I said, well, offer real help, tangible help. You don't say to a grieving person, you know what, if you need me, just let me know.
Exactly.
They're never going to reach out. They don't know what they need.
Exactly.
So if you're the person who cooks, say, listen, I'm going to bring a casserole and drop it off.
That's it.
Don't ask them. Just tell them you're going to do it. If you're not a cook and you don't want to cook, don't offer to cook. Say, you know what, I'll come and I'll sit on your couch and we'll watch Netflix. I'll just keep you company. Offer tangible help. Give them something that you're going to do and do that thing.
Yes.
That's what people need.
Yes, that's true. My girlfriend recently lost her mom, and it was a feeling of comfort for her. I didn't want to like overstep certain things. She's like an introvert, and I didn't want to do too much, but my bishop was just like, listen, go to her house, sleep over, do what you got to do. And I was like, okay. And I remember just bringing it up to her. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to stay over, but she wasn't really receptive of it. So I was like, yeah, I don't think this girl wants me to sleep over. I can't just push myself up on her like that, but I felt a way that I didn't know how to push myself in there without making her feel uncomfortable. This is my friend, so I was just like, okay, well, maybe not tonight, then maybe tomorrow I'll sleep over. I wanted to like push it on her and just ease it on her, but it never happened. I just ended up maybe just going by for a day and leaving, but the sleepover part never happened. But I find you have to kind of meet them where they are a little bit, and I didn't want to overstep her, because I know with me, if I'm going through something, I want to be alone. I don't want nobody around me. I don't want nobody to be in my space. And I felt she wanted that, but didn't know to say it. So I was like, I hear what you're saying, but you're not saying it. I read you, but you're not really saying it. I got you. I'm not going to stay over, but how would you explain to somebody, like, how do you help somebody who's grieving? You kind of touched on it, like, just do it, bring the casserole, bring whatever. But sometimes that individual wants their space, if that makes sense. They want to be alone. And sometimes it's not good for them to be alone.
The thing is with grief, especially like, you lose you can lose multiple husbands, but let's just say you lose your husband once, you lose your parents once. I hope you lose one. If you lose a child, it only happens once.
Yes.
But we don't know how we're going to react. I've watched, like, for example, when my son passed away, I stopped doing everything. I did nothing for months. My girlfriend, she went right back to work because that was how she processed.
Okay.
How do you help someone? By, again, offering them tangible help. If they don't want it and they say they don't want it, they don't want it, but you can check back in. You said you went over, you stayed there.
Yeah.
I know for me, one of the most comforting things was knowing there were people in my home. I would sleep for hours at a time, but I'd come out in the living room, I'd see my friends on the couch, I'd be like, hi, and I'd go back in my room.
Okay.
I didn't want to be with them necessarily. It was just very comforting
to know that they were there.
I wasn't alone.
Okay.
So I was alone in my room, but when I came out, there were people there, and that really
was good.
It was very reassuring.
That's a good one. Okay.
So, again, filling those space. If they have children, picking up their kids from school, sending gift certificates that are amazing thing, little gift cards for Molly Maid or food takeout or things that will make your life easier. A laundry service. These are things that people often don't do when they're grieving. A massage. Those are things that are very helpful, helping them with the logistics of life that now seem absurd. It seems so ridiculous to make breakfast and pack a lunch and bring someone to the bus stop when you faced a major loss. And those are often the places we can help fill the gaps.
Very well. I love that. I'm going to implement that in my own personal journey with some of my friends and those who I know are going through a deep loss. What are the biggest misconceptions about grief?
One of the biggest ones is you get over it. That one day it's not a broken arm.
Yeah, it's not just gonna
You
click
don't
back.
heal and then you're good, and there's a loss, and you now you do become a different person. You have to become someone new without that person that you love, and that leaves a space. So you have to learn how to. Sometimes you don't even fill that space. What you do is you learn to work around it.
Around it. Yeah.
So that's one of the misconceptions. Another misconception is that everyone grieves the same. Something that I've seen happen is a lot of couples don't make it past losing a child, because they often grieve so differently. So what may be seen as not caring is just a different way. For example, one parent wants to keep everything. Yes. The other one wants to get rid of everything. Wow. One person can't work. The other one loses themselves in work. We all grieve differently. So no one does it right or wrong. And that judgment of somewhere, like, walk a mile. It's really not somewhere you can be. And even with other parents, we share a similar experience, but my experience is not yours.
That's true.
It's very individual.
Well said. Try not to get emotional, because there's quite a few things that you're saying that I kind of see myself in different scenarios. So I want to shift gears and talk about family and culture. You touched on it a little bit when you talked about our culture and how we handle grief. In the Caribbean, Black households, we often hear "be strong." What does that mean to you when you hear "be strong"?
Well, it's gotten to the point when I hear "be strong" and I almost find it insulting.
Yeah.
That I'm not a strong Black woman. I'm a delicate flower. Okay. Please do not heap anything else on my plate, because when that perception of you're strong, you can handle it, people tend to just give you more stuff. And I don't want any more stuff. Even the term resilient, at one point it was like, really good. But again, I don't want to keep being tested on my resilience. So be strong is often don't show your emotions. That's really what it translates to me. Don't show your emotions. Being strong is being authentic. I think that is one of the deepest strengths you can show, is to be authentic. And expressing the loss, the love that you have for someone. They say that all the time. Grief is just love with nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So if you love someone intensely, it doesn't stop at their manifestation on this earth. It continues.
Continues on. Delicate flower. I love that. I wanted you to now share your story a little bit about the miracle friend, as we talk about family, culture,
friends.
Yeah.
So again, as I said, in hindsight, looking back, the blessings of the people that were around me. And I did have one family member, my cousin here in Toronto, but everybody else was a friend. And the positioning, the way they position themselves to protect me, to help set things up, to make arrangements, to make plans, I will never forget the depths of their love and their kindness. And some of them, we're not still friends to this day because, as I said, death just changed many things. But my gratitude is eternal. That being said, again, the response of the community, the love that was shown, the support, the actual support, I don't even think we have the time to touch on it, but something I can tell people is the surprise cost of death, how expensive it is. A lot of times our children are not insured. So it is just a really big surprise. But the way the community came together to support was phenomenal in all the ways. That being said, my little story that I wanted to share was, it was about 2 or 3 years after my son had passed away. And one of my childhood friends from Montreal said that she called me up and she said, I'd I'd like to come to Toronto and, we're going to do something for your birthday because our birthdays are 2 days apart.
Okay.
And she said, I'm going to come get you and we're going to do something for our birthday. And I was like, well, that is so cool. So my girlfriend's going to come 500 kilometers down the highway to visit me for my birthday. And that is amazing. And she says, I'd like to also pass by Clive's grave.
Yeah.
And that has been something that's been amazing for me, is how many people have come and visited my son's grave, have met me there. We've had celebrations there. It's become a very different space.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just so touched that a friend from when I was 12 years old, like she's a high school friend, wanted to come all the way down here to visit my son's grave. And so we went and we visited. And then, so she lives in Montreal. She does not live in Toronto, has never lived in Toronto. Mm-hmm. She picks me up. We go by the grave and then we go to downtown. And she says, I got an Airbnb. And I said, okay, cool, because we're going to go for dinner and other people are going to surprise us and so forth. And we pull up to the Airbnb and she gets out. She goes inside to get the key. And there's two of them.
Yes.
And the other girlfriend, she turns to the back seat where I'm sitting and she looks at me. She goes, what's wrong? And I'm staring at the building and I look at her and I said, that's the building Kai died in.
No. Oh my gosh.
I said, that is the building Kai. And she looked at me. And you saw the color drain out of her.
Yeah.
And she said, whoa. And she wants to get the other one.
We gotta go. We're not doing this.
And she's like, are you okay? And I said, I'm supposed to be here. I said, God literally brought me here. Somebody picked me up from my house and brought me here to this building.
Wow.
And this is Toronto. It's one of the biggest cities
exactly.
in Canada.
There's so many
thousands upon thousands of
Airbnbs.
And obviously
go to that one. She didn't know
for her to pick that one.
Yeah.
And so obviously it wasn't the same suite, but all to say, that was like, I felt like my son was saying, you know what, Mom, I'm going to celebrate your birthday.
Oh my God.
I'm going to celebrate your birthday with you. And again, we're all different because some people could have been like, oh my goodness, let's get out of here.
Yes.
Yes. But for me, it was just this sign, like God literally put me right here on this very special birthday with my very special friends. And I felt like my son from heaven was like, you know what, Mom, I'm gonna celebrate this birthday with you. So there's many signs. I always see 11:11. I always see 1:11. Just feeling that love and that support.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing. So
He's always with you. Oh
always
my gosh. I got goosebumps a while ago when you said that. I'm like, woo.
Yeah.
Wow. First by the cemetery and now the Airbnb. He's always with you.
With me.
Always with you. Wow. That is an amazing story. Very touching. I recently went to a funeral and it's like, when you go to a funeral, you see people that you've never seen from 19 long.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that death has a way of bringing people together like that? You know what I mean? And it's just like, so somebody had to pass for me to see you at this funeral? What's going on? You can't call me? We can't have coffee and tea? You know what I mean? Why does that happen like that? It's mainly death and funerals, I find. You don't see people unless it's something big like that.
It is something big, and I feel like that's because it's what you prioritize. Death is something big.
And
it's just something big.
Yeah.
But as we go through our life, what we're invited to changes, right? There are less baby showers and less weddings, and now we're getting to more funerals and stuff. That's the real deal. But when you prioritize things and you make them things you have to do, like for example, my cousin that lives here in Toronto, when I first got here, I lived with her for a year and then moved on my own. But what we noticed is one year we noticed months had gone by.
Yes.
And we hadn't seen each other. And we live like 15 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
And we made it a priority. Every month on the first Monday of the month, we were going to have dinner together.
Exactly.
And it was an absolute, you could only not come if you were like sick. And if you were sick, we had to reschedule for the very next available date. And we made it a priority, and that worked for years.
Exactly.
And so instead of, I haven't seen you in so long.
Yeah, no, man.
It turned into, I'll see you next week, because we made each other a priority. So as we get older, very sadly, between our parents and even our peers, it's more and more funerals. It's more and more of that. And we see people then, but are you making an effort past that moment
to keep in
that contact?
It's true. It made me so sad when I went to the funeral and I saw people from when I was young as a child, and this funeral brought everyone together, and I was like, this is very sad. This is so sad. This man had to pass for us to reunite like this. This is not good, people. So I like the word you use, prioritize and make it a priority. So I really encourage anyone to reach out to that friend or loved one and just make it a habit to, let's meet every Tuesday. Let's have lunch, because
priority.
They're fading. Those things aren't being normalized anymore,
We don't even visit each other.
Exactly.
People.
So like a FaceTime on the phone, and that's about it.
People ring the bell and everybody in the house acts like, before, when we were growing up, the bell ringing was like, oh my goodness.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh, who's at my door?
Look out the window.
In Toronto, there's no parking on the street in front of anybody's house. It's like, don't visit. Just get the place and stay in it by yourself.
That's it.
It's
oh my gosh,
easy.
More isolated.
We have to prioritize each other.
It's true. That's the key word. Yeah. Make it a priority. I want to talk a little bit about your faith. Would you say that grief strengthened your faith with God going through your loss? Would you say it kind of shift or brought you closer?
No, I wouldn't say that.
How did it affect your faith at all, going through grief?
It didn't.
Okay.
That was one of the things, people have asked me before, were you mad at God?
Yeah.
And I never was. I never felt that. And even I found it odd, to be honest, that I didn't feel that way.
Yeah, because a lot of people do. They just get upset, like, why? God, my one kid, why? They curse and they outlash.
And you don't know how someone's going to react. I mean, it could be a pastor that loses his wife and that breaks his faith.
Yes.
Or it could be an atheist who loses someone and that makes them believe something. We all react differently. But for me personally, when I lost my son, I didn't blame God. I didn't blame myself. I did understand why, and I know that it's not for me to understand.
Yes.
I didn't feel forsaken, and those are things I can't explain to you why, because I would think I would. So as I said, I was even surprised myself that I didn't feel that way, but I never did. And I've continued to feel and see God working through my life. I still don't understand that. And you know what? One day, Monie, I may get mad. One day I may
make us catch up.
You know what? This is like, what the?
Yeah.
So, but I can tell you that genuinely in my heart, I've never felt anger towards God. My son I always knew he was a gift.
Yeah.
My children are gifts, and I get to be their mom, and that's the gift. And because we're human, we have an idea of how things are supposed to work, and we put things in this very linear fashion, and they don't always work that way.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful. One of the things in about the third year, I stopped thinking about him dying and started more thinking about him living. And that is what I realized, is that it took him a moment to die, but he lived for 18 years, 11 months, and 3 days. And instead of just thinking about that one moment, you have all that time to think about. So that shifted. And again, the gratitude, realizing that I used to say that being Kai's mom was like kind of owning a dragon. Like you have this powerful, amazing, almost uncontrollable force that you've been put in charge of. And he made me feel incredibly proud when I was beside him. He was smarter than me. He was witty and he understood things. I realized that he was wise, not too late, but very close to before I left him. I realized that, you know what, you might be on to some stuff. You know, so I feel a lot of gratitude to be his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to just sit in the anger of losing him and how unfair that feels. I really try to sit in the gratitude of even ever having him.
And that's just it. I love that, because a lot of people get angry, and you said he was a gift and it was a gift from God. Sometimes they're just with us for just a time, just a gift, and the gift goes back, you know. And once you look at it like that, I don't feel you can ever be angry and feel upset. You kind of feel honored and privileged to be a part of that.
Yeah, I feel honored and privileged. I'm mad. Like I remember there was a time I went to his grave, got there, looked at his grave, was like, you know what? And I just got back in my car and it's like, this is really stupid. Like, you're supposed to be here, but I'm not mad at God.
Because you understood. I feel that you understood that you were gifted with being his mom for that short time.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if you understand that, then you won't feel such a deep, you know, anger towards the Creator.
Yeah.
I want to touch a little bit on your mental health. We talk about mental health here a lot, and it's a big part of who I am, what I do. You know, that's how we first connected on that mental health tip. But how can grief impact our mental health? Because it does. It certainly does.
It takes you away from reality. I can tell you that there's a disconnect from reality. I know there has been for me and for many, many of the parents that I've spoken to. How does it affect your mental health? The depression, the blaming, every range of emotion, especially when as you go forward, you have extreme guilt over your first good day or your good moment, feeling like you're finally getting ahead, and then the bad days come so randomly. The bad days are so random and you don't know when they're going to come, or the thing that triggers you, or sometimes you don't know what's triggered you. And if you don't have someone to speak to, and not necessarily a mental health professional, but if you don't have any circle, anybody to confide in, it can consume you. Yeah, it can consume you.
So it kind of triggers anxiety, depression.
Tremendous anxiety. I know I had very, very bad anxiety.
Yeah. How did you manage to cope, or what was your way around, you know, rising above some of those, being surrounded by the right people?
It's people being able to have the real discussions with other people who truly understood. And that's why a support circle is so important.
Yeah. Is there such a thing as healthy grieving?
Oh,
so what does it look like?
Healthy grieving is, you know, the only advice one of the things Melanie and I tell people is the only advice I can really give you is feel your feelings. Whatever you're feeling, honor that. If you're mad, be mad. If you're sad, be sad. If you're happy, be happy. Honor your feelings. That is healthy grieving. So if you need to sit on the couch for many days, that's where you need to be. There are times where you get up and you realize this isn't my day. Lay back down. If you have that space and that schedule and that flexibility, feel what you're feeling. Do not edit it for anyone else. That will affect your relationships. That will impact the people around you. But in order for you to get through to the next level of your healing, you have to feel your feelings.
Honor your feelings. I love that. The company, I want to touch back on it before we wrap up. Normalizing Grief. Let us know some of the services you provide, some of the, you know, how you help individuals go through what they're going through.
So there are workshops. We are actually going to be having a conference in October. We're really excited. We'll be having a conference to support for parents and the people who support them. So we're looking at the different facets of grieving, the different facets of healing, the different ways that people can come to healing. So we're really excited for that. So stay tuned. But then we also do one-on-one counseling.
Excellent.
And the other things that we're looking at are some books and some journals as well. So those will be coming out in October as well.
Oh, amazing. That sounds really good. We're going to have that information down in the comment section in our subtitles for this episode. So stay tuned for that. We want you guys to, attend and get the information that you need. I want to have a little bit of fun with you before we wrap up. Just a little fun game called Keep It or Leave It.
Okay.
So how this works is, I'm just going to call it a few phrases or advice that people say, and you have to quickly decide if you're going to keep it, which means it's helpful, or you're going to leave it. It's terrible advice.
Okay.
And these are some of the things that people who are grieving go through. So we just want to see how they can navigate this as well. All right, here we go. Everything happens for a reason.
Leave it.
Oh gosh, you're fast. Weird. She said, leave it. Terrible advice.
Terrible advice.
Time heals all wounds.
Leave it.
At least they're in a better place.
Leave it.
Stay strong.
Don't.
All right, she said, leave it. Take your time grieving.
Keep it.
All right. Let me know if you need anything.
Leave it.
Leave it. I'm coming over with food.
Keep it.
Yes, we're going to keep that one. Okay. And those are the ones I have for you. You were quick with it. Because you've been through it,
I could tell you most of them, honestly, you could leave most of them.
Yes.
One of the best things, the absolute winning best things you could say to somebody who's grieving is, I don't know what to say.
Oh.
That will never upset anyone. You are acknowledging your loss for words. I'm here. You're talking to them, but it's like, I don't know what to say. I'm here for you. That's it.
That's true.
All the other platitudes can be very triggering.
Yeah.
So leave those alone. I don't know what to say. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
That really works very well. Extremely effective.
Wow. I don't know what to say. Remember these words. I hope you guys are taking notes. I'm taking notes as well. There's quite a few little things that you're saying that I find very helpful for me. For yourself, what do you do for self-care? How does Erica take care of herself, self-care, your mental health?
Well, unlearning is a big part of it. Unlearning a lot of stuff. I've learned to rest.
Very important.
That's been amazing. So how much anxiety, I didn't even know what anxiety was. So I had it all my life. And then finally in like my 30s, 40s, identify it. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's anxiety?
It's always like, you see?
That's always how I feel. Like, wow, I didn't know that was a thing. So learning what it is, identifying it, and then learning how to relax, which took years to do.
Yes.
People talk about self-care, take a bath, this and that.
Yeah.
For me, it's been learning to relax and not just ignoring something and it bothering me, but truly being okay with taking time for myself. So that, and also to boundaries, understanding that boundaries are not what you expect of others. It's really what you will accept yourself. So it's not telling other people you can't do this, you can't do that. It's just being true to yourself. And then honestly, it really reinforcing the relationships that matter to me. And you see, as adults, we get very busy, very busy. So much time can pass without you doing anything. And sometimes I use my phone a lot. I send voice notes, send so-and-so a voice note.
Exactly.
And there's no punctuation, there's no anything, but it's just me saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. Talking to them in my car on my way to places. So that's been my self-care. Really making sure that I maintain the relationships with the beautiful people that I have in my life, and allowing myself to rest. That has been the biggest self-care.
That's a big one. Rest.
Yeah.
She said that quite a few times. Rest. Is very important because you just never know. You need that. You don't wait for your body to speak to you and let you know what's going on. Take that time and rest. Which brings us to a segment that I like to call Good Things Are Coming. This is a segment of our show where I leave my listeners with a positive affirmation to help them get through the week. So I'm going to say a little good things are coming, and then I'm going to allow Erica to leave a little good things are coming. Good things are coming because if you are grieving right now, if you've lost someone, if life feels heavy, your grief is valid. All right, Erica, a little good things are coming. Drop a little something on it.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful. And I would say good things are coming because you're still here.
I love that.
Yeah,
love that.
Here.
You matter. You are still here. Erica, thank you so much for your vulnerability and just creating that space for having this conversation. I know it may have been a little bit uncomfortable at some parts, but I feel it is needed. It was much, much needed. A lot of people avoid it. So I really want to thank you for opening up and sharing with us, your work. It's helping people and, making them feel less alone. And that really matters. What's next for you? What are you working on? What can people look out for that you got going on right now?
Well, there's quite a few projects in the works, but food security is one of the things that really matter to me. So once again, this year, we're looking forward at the end of the year to the Afro-Caribbean food baskets. I am now one of the members of the steering committee for the Black Prom of Durham.
Okay.
So we just have gotten that underway in the last few months. And then, of course, I am the owner and main facilitator at Elita events. So I coordinate events that bring community together. I also deliver workshops and create programming for corporations, municipalities, and grassroots organizations.
Love that. And how can people reach you? Are you on Instagram, Facebook? Anything?
Right now, the best place to reach me, I would say, would be Instagram, and you'll find me at The Real Erica E on Instagram. Can't miss me.
Awesome. We'll as well plug that at the bottom. If this conversation blessed you or, made you feel healed, inspired you, encouraged you, remember, like, comment, and subscribe below. I also want to say condolences and rest in peace to Auntie Goody and Uncle Pastel, who have been in the family. They've lived their lives and they just recently passed away. So to the family, friends, and loved ones, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. May they rest in peace. Remember, good things are coming, and share this episode with a loved one or a friend. Bye for now.